briefly, Les, what were the journals?
So I've created a Karate for Mental Health journal and then updated it to martial arts journal, so people can write down their goals, short term, medium term, and long term, progress their training. They can write what was okay, what was negative, finishing on a positive, and there is a mood tracker when you got a little gauge that you can track on every session. How did you feel after?
That's a fantastic initiative, Les. I mean, so they're still readily available on Amazon, correct? So people can
Yep,
still get.
yep, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they just can't get the free copies from you, which we had a promotional idea where people, if they gave a review of the podcast, they would be able to get a free copy of it. But they're all gone. Happy to say that I have my copy of the Martial Arts Journal, and I think it's great. Again, I used to keep a diary. Now that takes the form of a blog of all my lessons, but I used to keep a regular training diary, and that book gave me the motivation to record all my training. But the reason why I want to mention this, Les, is because I wanted to talk about a big part of the Les Bubka brand, if you like, a big part of what you do, Les, as is represented in your first book, Anxious Black Belt, and your podcast of the same name, and that is discussing mental health issues, and how mental health issues are such a big part of your karate and your teaching in general.
Yep. So, as probably most of people who know me knows, I had a huge anxiety, and karate helped me to pull me out of it. And if that wouldn't happen, I probably wouldn't be a sort of, in quotes, public person that people, approaching and saying, "Oh, hi, I read your book. Hi, I've seen your YouTube," or something like that. So yeah, so I try to kind of give that back to the community, and try to support people who might feel that martial arts are not for them because they're lacking of confidence, or maybe they have some kind of ill health, and they're being put off from that. And I think that all the physical activity is a supporting uh, tool within the therapy. So, a lot of people think that karate for mental health is a therapy. It is not. Although my long-term goal is to get it as equal as a dance therapy, so that you could be recommended by a doctor that go and do some form of training with us or with any other provider, and have that support of the therapy. But it is not the replacement for a professional therapy from your doctor, from a GP or specialist to treat your issue.
Yes, on that subject, you were talking previously in our earlier recording with regards to using some of the findings on some of these journals with a professional. Is that correct?
Uh, we've been approached by the doctors, but it's never kind of materialized, at least not um, straight away now, that they would like to support and actually direct people to us to train with us. But it's kind of working in the background. I learned that you have to leave things running in the background, and with so many things the last 2 weeks materialized that I'm so busy at the moment that um, it is worth doing and worth living. In terms of feedback from the journals and stuff like that, we done the book Karate for Mental Health when we took the people's stories, and over 5 years who've been training with me, and how the impact was um, on them. They put them in their own words. We put that all in a book, but it's only anecdotal evidence. I'd been approached by a professor about it, but again, haven't heard it since August last year. So, but people are busy, and I don't like to push people and chase people, so I leave it its own course. I'm sure it's gonna materialize, and there's more and more interest in it. And I hope we're gonna have some studies, and we're gonna be able to push for some real data and scientific proof.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this could be a really important part of martial arts training on the whole. I think it's a it's a fantastic um, movement, Les, and also really, really important area of study that you're focusing on. I hope it'll attract more like-minded people involved with martial arts and mental health. It's one question that does come to mind, especially because of all the stuff that I'm doing with Mary Stevens with the Animal Instincts program with children, and there's so many things keep flagging up with regards to teen neurological development to the point where we created lessons for that in particular because it's so important. And again, not to date things, but you're often seeing a lot of stuff in the media with regards to young people getting unhealthy influences and extremist movements starting up and recruiting younger people. And as we know, the adolescent mind is the perfect place, and history has borne that out. It's the perfect place for extremist movements to target, for grooming to target, and also criminal gangs as well. That that's the reason why they recruit adolescents because whether they know it on any sort of deep level or not, they intuitively know that teenagers are easier to recruit, and a lot of it's all down to the neurology of what's going on. But one thing that comes to mind as well, of course, is the still the aftermath of COVID. I definitely think that the 2020s will be defined by that lockdown. I think it's caused changes that are, and you're seeing it everywhere in the workplace, society, politics, how people interact. And certainly within crime and therefore self-protection and also physical training and everything like that. I think all of that there's an undeniable impact by the lockdown. So could you tell me at all your views on that and what you've seen?
So I'm not educated enough to do the psychological analysis and stuff like that, but I can tell you what I see on my kids because Max was born 2016, so before lockdowns, and Lauren was born 2019 and went straight when she was little into lockdown. And their social behaviors are totally different. It might be just the different children, but I see that her peer group, who was not allowed to go in that early stage to the nursery, it's much more shy, less outgoing. It's more difficult for them to create the relationship with other people. Although, with time now it's getting easier because she's getting older. But that initial stage, compare Max versus Lauren, he's super outgoing and he's super outgoing. She's not so much. And it's just, she's kind of more, I want to be left by my own, and she's fine playing herself, which Max is more craving the um, uh, fun with other people and so on, being more social and stuff. But I think that in kind of younger people, like teenagers and stuff, we see the ease of recruitment for gangs and stuff because the people craving for like belonging somewhere, and COVID kind of took you away from all the clubs, all the people. So now they craving a little bit more of that, and gangs got the easier way. Parents are back to work, are more difficult to provide the outside classes because the financial situation is dire for, I think, for most of the people. And the more you give chance to young people to be belonging to some club, they kind of are drawn to it. So if they have nowhere to go, they're gonna go to your peers. So they're gonna end up in gangs, violence. If they've got like a sporting activity, let's say gymnastics, karate, martial arts, Muay Thai, whatever, they've got a belonging somewhere with a positive role models that, hey, I can be actually a badass. That's in relation to martial arts. I can be a badass, but I can be a nice person. They're gonna be drawn to that, right? But if they have nowhere to go, they're gonna be sitting around on the benches and go into no good. I know
Yeah.
because I've been in a situation like that when I was younger. We've been sitting on the benches drinking beer and cause mischief. Although
Yes.
I always didn't have a courage to do the really crazy stuff. But I found karate, and then I spent less time on the benches and most time stuff in the dojo being beaten up.
Yeah, I mean, have you seen differences between students that were with you prior to lockdown, students that joined you after lockdown, and changes within in that? Is anything there that's
So
you feel is different?
So I don't teach kids and young people. So my
No.
youngest is 26. But what I
Yeah.
noticed is that it wiped out women. I had a 50-50 dojo. Now I've got a 90-10.
Oh, right.
I think that the lockdown have been more impactful on women. We
Right.
lost pretty much every single girl from our club due to various reasons. But
Yes.
I think it's all underlying through knocking out the confidence and kind of, um, I don't know, that took the way away the outgoing.
Hmm.
It's not a professional analysis, but that's what I observe. Um, for us, the comeback from the COVID was beneficial to the club. I had never had so many people
Sure.
before as after, and I think people, mostly men, and enjoying being back in a pack
Yeah.
and doing a training together, and we ever growing. So
Yes.
and I see that now I got involved more with the elderly classes. I see that
Uh-huh.
elderly are doing much more out and going and training and doing classes. So we've got 3 classes for elderly, and the average is about 16 people, which
Right. Okay.
before I had 5, 6.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know if that relates or is just better services now. The I think the positive thing is that councils and government eventually acknowledge that the mental health is a big issue after lockdowns, and there is much more funding available that you can access and get the programs to support people's mental health through other intervention than the about it.
Doctors.
I'm working now with the Surrey Sports Park, which is a
Mm.
university on Surrey, and it
Yeah.
might be that there is more groups created just for women.
Oh, sure.
So,
Okay. Okay.
I know they've got several classes
Mm.
for pad holding and kickboxing and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And if the girls feel more kind of safe in that environment, it's
Yeah.
great. I'm just seeing on my
Yes.
dojo when
Yeah.
women don't want to maybe not feeling so confident to step into the dojo with men,
Yes.
they
Yeah.
rather go to the safe space where they've got a female only. But if you look on my elderly, its situation is completely opposite. I've got 90%
Sure.
of women
Oh,
and
okay. Oh,
very little men. I think the men generally thinking that, oh, I'm 60 years old now, I'm gonna sit on a sofa still and or go to the pub. Instead, I'm not gonna go for that silly exercises with my wife, where they're
yes.
gonna be doing stuff and gossiping or whatever the image in their head is. So we're seeing much less older gentlemen versus young ladies
Yes.
um, coming to the classes. So
Okay.